This Axed manga was something that I honestly really was into, and I think it really could have pushed the envelope when it came to Shonen Jump kind of approaches in terms to like main characters in their background, but we're going to get into that in just a minute. Today I am talking about Time Paradox Ghostwriter. So this plot is simple and it's pretty fun. Basically, a failed manga artist is attempting to just get his big break by breaking through in a Weekly Shonen Jump by making a one-shot. He's already got some notoriety from being getting a Rookie of the Year runner-up award, but he just has not been able to branch out into an area that many would consider like an esteemed spot as a mangaka. So and everything he suggests to his editor just gets rejected. He's like, homeboy, your work sucks. Like, just stop trying, like bring something that's original and creative. And this kid just doesn't seem to really have a voice of his own, which is kind of the central like idea of the plot of this manga. And so one day he's just about to quit, and right before he says the word I quit, a lightning bolt comes down through his roof and into his microwave, blows it up, and then inside of the microwave spawns a manga from 10 years in the future. Not just any manga, a Weekly Shonen Jump with the most popular manga of like the last 10 years. So what does he do? Of course, plagiarism, takes the idea and uses it as his own. And beyond that is all the moral questions that kind of make an interesting plot. So there is a lot of good elements when it comes to Time Paradox Ghostwriter. It was a really short run. Like, it had 14 chapters before it got axed, which is not a lot. Usually they'll even make it to like 25 chapters, 26 chapters seems to be kind of the common area where manga will get the axe. And I think the thing that was really cool about this, especially for a Weekly Shonen Jump manga, was that the character was in his 20s, you know, and he was someone who was out of high school and he was in the grind of like the work-life kind of environment, but it wasn't just, you know, slice of life, boring day to day. It was like this guy had like, you know, some deep kind of inner turmoil trying to achieve this kind of unreachable goal, trying to find faith in himself to become the artist he's always wanted to be, to become the mangaka he's always wanted to become. But then, of course, like earlier mentioned, he ends up getting a future manga that arrives every single day at 5 p.m. and is like a Weekly Shonen Jump 10 years in the future with this. It has this manga in it called White Knight, and I know, not the best, not the best title looking back, but it's got this manga in it, and it's published by this younger girl that he decides pretty much like he's just going to take the idea and plagiarize it and give it to his editor, and then it becomes like this, you know, big hit. So I think the other part of this manga that was really exciting was that it gave you like a big moral dilemma with your main character to like, there's no easy way to like someone that's literally just outright plagiarizing someone else's work, no matter how it's done. Like plagiarism, I don't need to tell you plagiarism is bad. Plagiarism is bad. There you go. I did anyway. And I think it was kind of weird because when I was looking this up, I did see that a lot of the fans kind of had issue, one with just there not being a good lane for the plot to continue, and then also kind of making it seem like the plagiarism was viewed as good. And I think that's fair. But at the same time, I mean, I do like that, like, I didn't like the main character because of that. I found it interesting that there was like this big moral dilemma and I was kind of just interested to see kind of the train wreck this would lead into. You know, it's like when you watch Ocean's 11 or a heist movie, you're not just like, oh man, I can't watch this movie because, you know, robbery is bad. It's like, you know, but it's viewed in like a cool way in these movies. I understand. It's just a concept. So I personally thought I was able to detach from that and just kind of have very mixed feelings in regards to this MC. So as to be expected with a lot of axed shonen or Weekly Shonen Jump, there is going to be some bad elements. Not always. Sometimes, like with examples like Siren, it was hard to find anything, you know, that was notable worth axing. It just seemed like the only thing that kind of took it down was the polls and the ratings that it got in comparison to other things that were in WSJ at that time. This one, I would say that it did seem very early on that there was going to be some issue kind of like pushing the plot forward in an interesting way, because he like even gets confronted by the girl that initially wrote this manga very early on, and it's just kind of like, oh yeah, here it all is immediately, and it's like, oh, maybe there's some elements of this you should have saved for a little bit later. Eventually it gets kind of, you know, weird, like parallel universe-y, and you're just a little confused as to the direction. So it did feel like maybe there was some issue with the direction and where it was going to go down the line. It didn't really give you much of a clear view as to what to expect, which sometimes I do think is good because it leads to there being a lot of area for surprises and, you know, things you didn't see coming. But to this, it just more felt like a lack of inspiration mixed with kind of like a fumbling artistic approach. You know, I do think something to note is that the art was really good in this. I actually do like a lot of the panels, especially the panels that like in a lot of early manga, they have like the colored sections. Those look like so cool in this manga, especially. Like, I just really like the art style. But yeah, it did kind of start to, like, even by like chapter 6, start to just kind of fall flat. And for a lot of readers, they are not, like I mentioned earlier, they're not going to like the guy that's just like openly kind of trying to justify, you know, plagiarizing work. And I can understand that to an extent. It is kind of, you know, if you're looking for an MC that that you want to like, he's kind of an anti-hero character, or maybe even just kind of like a villain in a way. So it is pretty hard to like him. I didn't like him, but like I said, it was kind of interesting getting that perspective from someone that's kind of crappy for a change, instead of someone that's just like a heart of gold. So it's a little bit of it's got a little bit of controversy mixed in there, which isn't a good read for everybody. Final thoughts on Time Paradox Ghostwriter. I would say that, you know, be it that there is a big moral dilemma, like just hitting you square in the face from chapter 1, I can understand why it's not going to be for everybody. I personally do like reading stories that challenge me, especially, like I said, in that moral compass kind of way, to think like, is there any likable quality to that, or is it just all absolute trash? Do I want to see this guy, you know, get caught? Is that part of the excitement from a reader's standpoint? You know, it's, I don't think it's something that's worth just like getting like, you know, crazy over, because apparently there were a lot of people just kind of attacking in the comments when it first came out, which I always, that's not my personal approach to anything. Again, want to make it clear, plagiarism, not cool, super cringy, don't do it. I also think main character, he's kind of trashy, and he's kind of, you know, he's in this moral dilemma in which he's kind of using a lot of these excuses to do illegal things. So not cool. But again, I do kind of like the challenge of a reader, of having to read something that's very unusual and kind of bad. So if I had to rate it from the 14 chapters there were before I got axed, I'd give it probably like a 6 out of 10. I'd say it's a good read and a very quick read, obviously, because there's not much there. And I think the contents of it were mostly pretty decent, pretty good. And yeah, so until I find something else, like this video if you like manga and want to see more manga videos, and I will see you later, guys.
Bye.